Hey guys, it's Miss Richardson here. I hope everyone's having a good week. Yesterday, for Monday, I posted a video to help with inequalities, word problems. So hopefully you guys saw that. If you haven't, check it out. And then for Wednesday this week, you're working on dependent and independent variables. So let's just think about you guys as minors. Most of you don't work. You don't have any bills. You don't drive. So you guys are very dependent on your parents. So your parents, they work, they make money, they pay the bills, they decide where you're going to live, they decide based on where you live, where you're going to go to school, they bring you to school in a lot of cases. So your parents are independent, right? You depend on your parents. So the choices they make affect you. So you guys, so we're talking about, like I said, independent and dependent variables. So you guys are, in your family situation, you are dependents and your parents are independent. So let's look at a few examples that I typed up over here. All right, so the first scenario here says the taller a building is, the farther you can see from the top floor of the building. Which variable affects the other? So you have two things. You have the height of the building and the distance that you can see. So how far you can see depends on how tall the building is, right? How far you can see, the distance you can see depends on the height of the building. So the height of the building could be extra tall, it could be medium tall, it could be a short building. So the height of the building is independent. Could be different heights, but the distance that you can see depends on the height of that building. And that's what it says. The height of the building affects how far you can see, which means the height of the building is independent, can be all kinds of different heights. But based on that height, that affects the distance. The distance depends on the height of the building. So it's the dependent variable. All right, let's look at this one. Jason makes $22 per hour building houses. Write an equation to show the relationship between the money he makes in a week and the number of hours he works. All right, so I said Y is going to be the total number of money he makes, and X is the number of hours he worked. So what if he worked 0 hours? How much money would he make? $0. What if he worked 1 hour at $22 per hour? How much money would he make? $22. What if he worked 2 hours? 2 times 22 is 44. 3 hours, that would be 66. 4 times 22, 4 hours times $22 per hour is 88. And if he worked 10 hours that week, he would make $220. So Y, which is the total money he makes, is equal to $22 times the number of hours he works. So this is the equation. So remember, equations have equal signs. So in this scenario, X is our independent. I messed that up. Independent variable, which happens to represent the number of hours he works, and Y, which is the total number or the total amount of money he works, is dependent on how many hours he works. Total money is dependent, number of hours is independent, okay? And in most scenarios that I can think of, most scenarios that deals with money, that money's always going to be dependent on something else. Money's going to be the dependent variable. All right, when the temperature rises, more people go to the beach. So, which is the independent variable? Well, the temperature, it could be 50 degrees, it could be 70, it could be 90, it could be 100. So the temperature is rising, right? It could be all kinds of different numbers. However, as the more it increases, what happens to the number of people at the beach? It is affected by the temperature. So the independent variable in this scenario is the temperature. The temperature can be any degrees. The people going to the beach depends on the temperature. Jackie makes money by selling blankets. The amount of money Jackie makes is, the amount of money is dependent on the number of blankets she sells, which means the amount of money, the total money, is the dependent variable. It depends on the number of blankets she sells. Susan is traveling 45 miles per hour. If H represents the number of hours and M represents the number of miles, we're going to complete this table. We're going to identify the dependent and independent variables, and we're going to write an equation. So H means hour. So what if Jackie, or who is this? Susan, what if Susan traveled 0 hours? How many miles would she travel? 0 miles. What if she traveled 1 hour? 1 hour at 45 miles per hour, 45. What if she traveled 2 hours? 45 times 2 is 90. What if she traveled 3 hours? 3 times 45 is what? 135, I think. What if she travels 4 hours? What is that, 180? And what if Susan traveled most of the daylight, 10 hours? She would go 450 miles, right? Okay, so what is our equation? What does M equal? The number of miles she traveled equals 45 times the number of hours she traveled. So M is our dependent variable, and the number of hours is our independent variable. She could travel 1 hour or 5 hours or 10 hours, but the number of miles depends on how long she travels, right? All right, so that's about it for dependent and independent. If you just kind of have a little conversation with yourself, well, which of these depends on the other? I think you can get it. But I did want to go into the lesson 7.08. Let me pull that up. So 7.08 in your lesson this week is called Analyzing Relationships. So you're going to go through that lesson like you do everything else. You're going to read every scenario. You're going to look at your objectives. You're going to take notes. You're going to try the examples. You're going to do them yourselves, and then you're going to try your answer or test your answer. And then when you get to page 9 of 9, let me get there. So page 8 of 9 is going to sum up this little lesson. It's going to say, did you meet these objectives? Here's your vocabulary. There's the summary, and it looks like you're finished. But if you go forward, it's going to give you 2 project options. One is independent, and the other one is when you work with someone else. All right, so you can look at that. That's fine. You can look at it. But if you go to the next page, I've taken that project and I have created a Google Drive out of it, a Google Doc out of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on that blue link, 7.08 project. It will open in your Google Drive. You don't have to make a copy. And then you're going to answer the questions right on that document, okay? So it says you are going to come up with an activity of something that you can do. So for example, it gives you some ideas. You can do some jumping jacks. You can see how many times you can write your full address. You can try to see how many points you can score in a game. And you can see how many pages of a book you can read, how far you can walk. All right, I suggest that you do all these activities in 1 minute. How long does it take me to read a page in one, or how many pages can I read in 1 minute? How many words can I read in 1 minute? How many jumping jacks can I do in 1 minute? So on and so forth. How many sit-ups can I do in 1 minute? So then it says start here. So the first thing you're gonna do is tell me the activity that you did, how long you spent doing it, And how much of the activity did you complete in your time period? So for example, this person said, I did 24 sit-ups in 1 minute, or I can type this many words per minute, so on and so forth, okay? Then you're going to let X represent the amount of time you spent doing your activity, and Y represents the total number of times you completed your activity. And you're going to tell me which of those is the dependent and which is the independent variable. You're just typing it right on this paper, on this Google Doc. I just ask that you don't use the same colors I used so I can see your answers easily. Then you're going to come down here and you're going to fill out this table. How many things did you do in 0 minutes? How many of these activities did you do in 1 minute, in 2 minutes, in 3 minutes, so on and so forth. And then right here, you're going to write your equation. What does Y equals something times X? Don't forget that part. And then finally, you have 3 follow-up questions, okay? So when you type on that and you just close your little document, it shares with me automatically. I will get that. Okay, so hopefully that explains 7.08, analyzing relationships. And you guys won't have any problems with that. And then on Friday, you guys will take your practice test. Your test will be next Tuesday. All right, you guys, I hope y'all have a good week. It's not a difficult week. Just remember that we're nearing the end of the semester, so all of your graded work is due by next Wednesday by midnight. There's no exceptions, you guys. You have to have everything in. I have to have grades posted on Thursday. All right, everyone, if you need me, let me know. I'll be happy to help you with anything, and have a great week. See you.